Hi everyone, welcome back to Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch for my 2023 WIP Parade. Hi everyone, I hope you all had a great holiday break or just a great end to your December. I am coming to you with an overdue WIP Parade. I filmed a bunch of Vlogmas videos in December. I will link the playlist down below in case you missed those. And I feel like I've been filming every single day since December 1st. And so I took last week just off. I didn't want to film anything. I didn't want to assign myself any tasks. I just took a straight vacation and hibernation, and it was great. So I am here. It is, let's see, January 3rd. I am still off of work for a couple of more days. I took a few extra days just to give myself a full 2 weeks off of work, which is something I love to do. And yeah, so I have a few more days of my vacation, and I thought it's time. I need to film the 2023 WIP Parade. If you are new to my channel, my name is Liz. I am a cross stitcher, knitter, quilter, wool applique, crocheter, any kind of craft that can be done, I want to be doing it. And this video is all about cross stitch and all of the WIPs that I am carrying into 2024. If you watched last year's WIP Parade, you might notice a few projects no longer here. There has been a little bit of UFOing. I think 3 or 4 projects have not made the cut, and I kind of anticipate a few more projects maybe not continuing on. I have been tracking all my WIPs since about 2019. I started filming these videos in 2020, so I have a lot of stats and facts about my stitching. And while I have no problem with a high number of WIPs, there are 43 WIPs total in this video about to be coming at you. I have realized that there are just some that I am not working on, and even though I love the design and would love the finished object, there's just some that I haven't touched in years that I really need to make some decisions about, moving forward, and am I realistically ever going to finish it? So I'll talk to you all about that as I go through the WIPs. I think all of my previous WIP parades I have done chronologically, where I start with the oldest and I go through the newest, but I was watching my friend Lauren, New Hampshire Stitcher, and she did categories of projects, and that just looked more fun and more interesting to me. So I did divide my projects up into a few different categories, but there are some very common themes that you will see as we go through these. Before I get started with all the WIPs, I wanted to go through just a few numbers and stats things since I made myself a little spreadsheet here. And like I mentioned, I have been tracking my WIPs since 2019, and in this year's WIP Parade, we still have one WIP remaining from 2019. And it's the same one that I had last year. It's the only WIP I have still left from 2019. We'll get to it. I'll point it out when we get there. I have 11 WIPs left from 2020. And that is the same number as I had last year, which is telling me I'm not working on my older WIPs. So we'll talk about that as we go through. I have 11 WIPs left from 2021, and that is actually down 6 from last year. So I've made a little bit of progress on the 2021 WIPs. I have 4 WIPs left from 2022, down 7. And that is telling me that I started making better choices about what I was starting in 2022 because I got a lot of those done. And then from 2023, I have 16 WIPs. And of course, those are all new. These were all started in the year 2023. And yeah, so that equals 43 WIPs total. And just for fun, I thought I would tell you that I started 27 new projects this year, and I only have 16 of them left. So I managed to finish 11 of them in the past year. And that is slightly down. I started 28 projects in 2022. So yeah, and just finishes wise, I did finish 22 projects this year, and that is slightly down from last year where I finished 27. So yeah. Okay, let's get into the WIPs, and we're going to start with the category samplers. Okay, I just realized while checking my spreadsheet here that I've actually stacked up the samplers a little out of order. So these are mostly oldest to newest, but they're a little bit out of order. I'm not going to bother fixing it because I've got a huge stack of cross stitch in front of me and I have my spreadsheet, but yeah, no big deal. We are definitely starting on the old ones, but it's just a little bit out of order compared to like when I actually started them. So the first one on the list is Heartstring Sampler-ary Stitcher's Resolution. And this is one I got and started because I wanted to hang it in my craft room. I wanted this whole like wall of cross stitch kind of about crafting. And so this one says, when in doubt, always buy more linen and thread, stitch all day and absolutely no housework allowed, always start a new project before the last one is finished, requiring a return to number one. It's called Stitcher's Resolution. It is super cute, but I started this in 2020 and I have not worked on it since. So this is also one thing I'm going to talk about with each WIP is, did I stitch on this in 2023? I'm going to put all of those WIPs in a pile. It does not mean they're all getting UFO'd, but it does mean that I'm going to figure out what to do with them and if I will ever actually finish them. So this is the first project that I did not stitch on at all in 2023. And in fact, I do not think I've stitched on this since 2020. I love the finished piece. I would love to have it finished, but I just am not working on it. So here is what that one looks like. I am stitching this, let's see, on a 36 count cream Zweigart, and I'm using all of the called for flosses. 2020 was definitely my I discovered samplers and started way too many of them era. Okay, next up is my biggest WIP, and it is Heartstring Sampler-ary Consider the Lilies. I started this in spring of 2020, right in the middle of like pandemic lockdown, and I did work on this one in 2023. This was on my WIP Go board, so this definitely got a lot of progress, but it's still far from done. Let's see if it's all in screen there, kind of. Okay. So you can see I'm almost halfway-ish. That big tree is the center. And so you can see on the top, I have finished the whole top right half. And my WIP Go goal was to get that whole bottom right half done, and I did not make it. But I did put in kind of this whole bottom right section this year. And this one is still beautiful. This is definitely staying in my WIP pile. It's just a multi-year project. Hopefully not decade, but yep. Oh, let's see. Let me give you my stats. I am stitching this on a 40 count R&R Reproductions Winter's Brew, and I'm using all the called for colors. I think I made 1 or 2 substitutions based on what was available because like floss was like really hard to find in some colors back in 2020, but it's all pretty much the called for. Next up, I have the Drawn Thread Sunnyside Sampler. And I started this one again back in 2020. I think I've talked about this. This was kind of like the first sampler I fully kitted and got really excited about. It's not a traditional sampler, but yeah, I absolutely love this. I did work on it a little bit in 2023. Again, it was on my WIP Go board. And I think I'm close to halfway done with this one. And I am using 36 count, let's see, I'm using 36 count natural Zweigart, and I'm using all of the called for silk threads. And I love this one. Okay, next up is another 2020 sampler, and it is Land That I Love by Teresa Kogut. Just absolutely fell in love with this one when it came out. Had to have it, had to start it immediately. And I've been working on it off and on for the last 3 years. And I was really hoping to finish it this year. This is another WIP Go fail, but I made a lot of progress on it this year. I just didn't quite finish it. And here is what Land That I Love is looking like. Oh, so cool. This is on 36 count Zweigart that I dyed myself. The base was a limestone color Zweigart, and I used some dark brown and pearl gray Rit dye over the top. And I'm using all the called for colors. one strand over two. I'll give you some close-ups. Gorgeous. Hopefully a finish in 2024. Next up is the Scarlet House and Topley 1802. This is also one I started in 2020, and it is one I have not worked on in 2023 or possibly even in 2022. I do not remember the last time I worked on this one, and I know the reason. It's because it's on black fabric. It's gorgeous. Here's where it's at. Absolutely gorgeous. I'm using all the called for colors. I'm using 36 count Weeks Dye Works Twilight. And yeah, it looks awesome. I just do not enjoy stitching on black fabric. Yeah. I also think it's the fact that I'm just kind of in lettering purgatory up there. Like, it's just non-stop text until I get kind of to the fun stuff at the bottom. And yeah, I am not sure if this one's going to continue on or not. We will see. This is going to go in the maybe pile because this did not get any stitching or any progress in 2023. And Topley. We've made it into 2021. And this is Where Flowers Bloom by Hands Across the Sea. And I just fell in love with this one from the moment I saw it for that little border. And I believe this was an original, maybe it was based on something, but this isn't like a true reproduction one, I don't believe. And I am almost done with this. I did work on this last year as part of a WIP Go goal. I think I put 10 days on it, and I got it really close to a finish. So close that I stitched 2023 there in the bottom. But obviously we are now in 2024, so I'll probably rip out that 3 and add a 4 whenever I finish it. Let's see, I am stitching this one on 36 count Lakeside Linen Vintage Pecan Butter with all of the called for silk Averissois flosses. And in the past years, I've done Sampler-ary, which is what I call January and February, where I just focus on sampler stitching because I have a lot of sampler WIPs and want to make progress and get some done. And that's really worked for me well over the last few years. And I kind of feel like this needs to be my January focus because I feel like I could finish this in just a few nights of stitching, honestly. It's so close. So yeah, this one is going to stay top of mind for Sampler-ary. Okay, next up is another one that I just had to have and had to start immediately when it came out, but have not worked on it much. And I know the reason, so we'll talk about it. This is Plum Street Samplers, the Equality Sampler. This is part of a series of samplers she has done. Let's see, does it say what the series is called? No, it doesn't. But they have, I shouldn't have even mentioned it because now I can't think of any of the names of the other samplers. A heritage sampler, is that one of them? There's like a few that kind of are in this same theme and layout. And I just love the Equality Sampler. But I don't think I've worked on this since 2021 when I started it. And that is because of all of the over one stitching in this piece. So, and the full coverage section. This is all full coverage. This is all over one. This is all over one. I think these ladies are over one. So I have to be honest with myself. Am I ever going to finish stitching this? I don't know. It's absolutely beautiful. That is what I got done on it in 2021. It is, let's see, the Equality Sampler on 36 count R&R Reproductions Mayflower Mocha and the called for floss. I absolutely adore this fabric color. I think it's beautiful. I think the stitching looks awesome on it. I started stitching this first over one word and was like, let me get one out of the way. And I hate stitching 1 over 1. It's because I use a sewing method to stitch in hand. If you are curious what the sewing method is and stitching in hand, or what that is, or what that looks like, I have a whole video on it called How I Stitch on my channel. And I know there are ways to do the sewing method with 1/1. I've kind of tried a couple. I've not found a way that I can use the sewing method 1/1 with the way I stitch. And so I have to poke and stab. And it's so tiny. It's so hard to see. I need magnification. I just can't sit down and stitch like I normally can. And so when a piece has like a little tiny bit of 1/1, I'm like, whatever, I'll suck it up and do it. But this piece has so much. So yeah, I don't know if this is ever going to get done. This definitely did not get any love in 2023. So it's going to go in the naughty cross-stitch WIP pile. Okay, next up is another 2021 start, and this is What Remains Is Love by Blackbird Designs. I'm going to try lowering this light brightness and see if it helps with the focus. Hopefully I didn't ruin anything. I hope everything is focused. I also haven't filmed with this camera in like a month because I've just been doing everything on my iPhone. So I'm like, what am I doing? I hope everything turns out. What Remains by Blackbird Design. This was an exclusive through, I think, Traditional Stitches in Canada when it came out. I think it's readily available now. I had bought the kit from them, so I'm doing everything called for, which I think is a 36 count Weeks Dye Works straw called for floss. And I have a pretty good chunk done on this, but I have not worked on it much. I did work on it a tiny bit in 2023 because my friend Shiloh, X-Stitch MD on FlossTube, she was stitching on this at Stitch North in April, and I was sitting next to her watching her, and I was like, oh, I want to work on mine. So I think when I got home, I did work on it a little bit, but I didn't make much more progress. This is definitely still staying in the WIP pile. This is one I want finished. I've got all the floss. I mean, why am I saying that? I have all the floss for all of these. But even though I've only worked on this a little bit, this is staying in the WIP pile. I love it. I want it done. I love Blackbird Designs. She's Alma's one of my favorite designers. Yeah, I want this added to my collection. So that is What Remains Is Love. Right, next up is another 2021, and it's one I have not worked on since 2021, and I don't know if I'm going to keep working on it. I feel like I'm making, hopefully this isn't like a negative WIP parade. I have tons of WIPs in here that I am so excited about finishing, but I do feel like I started way too many samplers in 2020 and 2021, and I really haven't like evaluated them in a while. So that's what I kind of wanted to do while I'm filming. Yeah. I was about to add something like, if you have negative thoughts and feelings about me discontinuing some of these projects, please keep them to yourself. But I feel like that's not going to deter people. But just know that... Anyways, it's fine. Let's just keep going. The more people that subscribe to the channel, or the more people that view my videos, it just means like the more comments I get. And sometimes those comments can be like very judgy and nitpicky. Not all the time, just every once in a while. And I feel like more so lately. And so I just really have to like not take that in and just know that that's that person's opinion. It doesn't need to affect me or my opinions. It's, you know, every day is a new learning growth opportunity for me to not read into people's comments. Okay. This one is called Sarah Barker 1840 by Needlework Press. And I picked this one because of the absolutely amazing border. Look at that thing. It's so cool, right? And then it's got a pretty traditional little alphabet quote name in the center. And let's see. I started this, in July 2021, and I started it on 40 count R&R reproduction Brenda's Brew. Here is what it looks like. It's gorgeous, right? I'm using all the called for silks, but I have not worked on this since I started it. And it's because the border is so gigantic and it's like basically all the same color with just a little bit of fill-in. And I just don't want to keep stitching that border over and over again. Yeah, and that's annoying to say because I'm looking at it and it's so beautiful. But this I have not touched in a year, so this is going in the naughty WIP pile, and we'll decide what to do with it later. Okay. Yeah, 40 count, 1 strand of silk, called for, blah, blah, blah. All right, next up is a 2023 sampler. I don't have any samplers left from 2022. So whatever samplers I started in 2022, I finished, which is awesome. This one is called Two Quaker Sisters by Modern Folk Embroidery. I'll have to put it on the screen because I have the digital copy of the chart. And I am doing this on a 40 count Picture This Plus fog with 1 strand of 103 Aversois silk. And here is my teeny tiny little sampler. It is already like a long skinny sampler on whatever count you do it on, but on 40 count I feel like it is just tiny and so cute. I really do enjoy stitching on this one, and obviously I started it this year. I probably made this progress over a month or so when I was stitching on it back in February and March, but I haven't worked on it a lot recently, but I love it. I am using 103. I don't know the color name. My project bag's over there that has a thread in it, but it's just a, you know, dark red silk thread. Gorgeous. I think this is my first Modern Folk Embroidery piece, if I'm not mistaken. Next up, we have the Love Boat Sampler by Artist Designs. And I am getting so close to a finish on this one. I started this year in April with a few of my friends at Stitch North, Shiloh, Exit Jim D, and Elizabeth Frizzy Lizzy Stitches. And wait, somebody else started it with us too. Who else started this? I'm forgetting. Anyways, this is getting really close to a finish, and I also want to make this a Sampler-ary goal because it's so close. Here is what it looks like. So fun, vibrant, pretty. I am stitching mine, let's see, on 36 count Weeks Dye Works Charlotte's Pink. And I made up my own floss conversion. You can find this on my Instagram. I have a picture of all the threads I'm using. I did not change colors, like I didn't change a blue to a purple or a pink or anything like that. I did like light blue to light blue, dark blue to dark blue. I just didn't have any color and cotton threads, and I have so many overdyed threads in my stash that I was like, I can do this. It did take some trial and error, but I'm really happy with all the colors that I have. So you can find that on my Instagram, which is just at Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch if you want to find that. And yeah, absolutely love this one. Definitely want to have it done by April when I go back to Stitch North, so I can show my friends. Yeah, so yay, love that. Okay, another 2023 sampler start was my birthday start. I turned 40 this year. It's fine. In June, and I wanted to start Margarita Schropfer by Jeanette Douglas on my birthday, so that's what I did. It's a really pretty band sampler. It's based on an antique, just kind of repositioned, I believe. And I saw this one at Market in Nashville and fell in love with it and wanted to start it in June on my birthday. And let's see, I am stitching this on 36 count Lakeside Linen Vintage Fawn. And I'm using the called for DMC conversion. This does call for silks, but it has a DMC conversion. So I just got all the DMCs and I love it. I think it looks awesome. I think I was getting a little bit bogged down on this one just because of all the text and lack of like color changes up at the top. You can see I'm about here and I need to go into these red and yellow letters and then this, and then I really want to get to all this. So I just need to put some more time in this year to get it down to the fun stuff. But yeah, I think it's awesome and really pretty. I don't know if I've been saying it as I've been showing the projects, maybe for 1 or 2 of them, but I typically stitch on 36 and 40 count fabric. That's my favorite. And I always use 1 strand of floss on 36 or 40. So if you're ever curious about how many strands of floss I'm using, almost always 1, unless I'm stitching on 28 or 32. And sometimes even then I'll try 1 thread. Are we down to the last sampler? No, last 2 samplers. Okay. This is also a 2023 start. Another one where I saw it, I got it, I had to start it immediately. And this is At Home by Brenda Gervais. Gorgeous. Let's see. There is a stitch along going on for it. I can't remember. If I can find the hashtag in my Instagram, I'll put it on the screen. Maybe it's just like the At Home Sal. I can't remember. I am doing mine on 40 count Zweigart Vintage Country Mocha with all of the called for floss. And that is the progress I made, which is really about 25% of the sampler. I made a lot of progress on this in the fall before I put it away. And I definitely want to get back to this one sometime this year. I'm going to say that about so many of these projects. I just need to get back to them. Yeah, so pretty. Okay, last sampler. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, there is another sampler, but I have it in a different category. Basically, I grouped all my Christmas stuff together. So there is, if you're wondering about a missing Christmas sampler, it's over in that category. But the last sampler I started this year and is still in the WIP pile is the Scarlet House Floral Motif Sampler. And I picked this up on a girls' trip to Phoenix with my friend Liz Matthews. We went to visit the attic and just hang out in the sunshine, have some beverages, have some good food, go shopping. And that included a lot of cross-stitch shopping. So I saw this on the wall at the attic and I had to have it. I had to start it. So I am doing this with the Attic's silk floss conversion. They are known for converting things to silk, and these are all over-dyed silks, and it is gorgeous. So if you want the floss colors for this, you can give the Attic a call and they can help you out and sell you a whole floss pack for this sampler. It's really pretty. I am stitching this. I guess I should hold it up before I start just talking at you, and so you can look at it while I talk. I am stitching this one on 36 count Tabby Cat linen by, oh no, the brand is Tabby Cat. I always get this wrong. The brand is Tabby Cat. The color is called Just the Ticket. Yay, it's so pretty. And obviously I just mentioned the flosses are the Attic's silk conversion. I made a lot of progress on this. It's a really big piece, but the bottom is about maybe 2 or 3 inches below where I got to. So I'm a couple inches from the bottom, and then I think the center is like, you know, over here. So it's a big piece, but I made a lot of progress on it this fall. I'm happy with that. This is not close to a finish, but I also want this in my Sampler-ary rotation because I have just been itching to get back to this. I love stitching with silk floss, especially over-dyed silks. They're like just so pretty and fun to work with, and I spent the money on them, so like I want to stitch with them. And I love just focusing on one little motif at a time. Some are, you know, little, like, look at that teeny tiny little flower in there, and some are huge, like that one that took me like 3 nights to stitch, you know? So it's really fun to just put in a motif here or there, and I really want to work on this one more soon. You guys, I am at 34 minutes, and we've only gone through like 12 WIPs, so I'm gonna have to speed this up. Okay. Note to self. And with that, actually, that's the end of the sampler category. Perfect. Let me reset and we're going to move on to, I believe, summer. Is that what's next? Yes, we're going to do summer WIPs next. Okay, let's get into summer. We are to my oldest WIP, my 2019 WIP, and that is Early Americans by Little House Needleworks. This is a series. I just grabbed one of the charts to show you, but this is a 9 chart series that I am stitching as one big piece. And I did work on this year because I had the goal to finish a block. I actually had the goal to finish 2 blocks and I only finished 1. I had a lot of WIP go fails this year. I thought about making that a video and I was like, why would I make a video just to talk about how I fell apart and didn't meet any of my goals? It's not fun. It's not fun for me. Which is why I don't set too many goals for crafting, to be honest. And I know that. And while WIP go was super fun and I got a lot done, it's not for me. I get stressed out. Here's Early Americans. I am stitching this on a 36 count mystery Zweigart. It's only a mystery because I did not write down what the color was when I bought this in 2019. This was before floss tube. So no clue. It's a hand dyed, but I don't know what it is. And I am using all of the called for floss colors recommended by Little House Needleworks. And yeah, I've got 4 of the 9 blocks done. And I did work on it this year, and I do want this to be a finished object, so this is for sure staying in the WIP pile. Okay, next up is a 2021 WIP that is so small and could be finished so quickly that it is... Why? Why is this not done? I'm sure I said this last year. Maybe I should go look at my old WIP parade and see if I said the exact same thing last year. Next is Happy Birthday America by Brenda Gervais. And here is what my progress looks like. It's about halfway done and it's small, so I should just finish this. So hopefully I will this year. I kind of think I know the reason why it's not done. And it's because I bought the kit with all of the supplies to turn it into this little cake stand looking finish. And I think the reason I haven't finished it is because I haven't felt like making a drum. I have made a drum one time and it was okay, but it was not the most fun and it did not turn out that great. And I haven't wanted to make another one. And I know that when I finish it, I'm just gonna have to make another drum because I have all the supplies and it's super cute. So I haven't finished stitching this, so I don't have to make the drum, which is so dumb. Here's what it looks like. I am doing this on 36 count R&R Winter's Brew, which is the called for. It came in the kit, all the called for flosses, and yeah, 1 strand over 2. And I got half of it done and then just stopped. Good job, Elizabeth. It's not going to go in the maybe pile because obviously I'm going to finish this. It's so close to a finish and I have all the supplies. It's just at some point, like this summer, I just need to make it a goal and do it. Speaking of make it a goal and do it, remember that one time in 2021 I tried to host a stitch along and then failed? Also remember that time in 2023 when I hosted a stitch along and failed? I'm really bad. I can't start stitch alongs because I don't finish them. This one is Stitchy Stars by Lori Holt. And this is another one that I wanted specifically for my craft room. And I've got, let's see, how many are there? 7? I've got 4.5 of them done. And I did work on this a little bit this year. I think I got half of one of these blocks done. This one will get eventually finished. Just don't ask me when. I'm using all the called for floss. It's like a Weeks Dye Works floss pack they had. It's 28 count Zweigart wheat. And 2 strands over 2 linen threads. So cute. My perfect colors. If you follow my floss tube, which I'm sure a lot of you do, Fat Quarter Shop released this Stitchy Stars pattern with Lori Holt as a quilted table runner pattern. And I made the Christmas colored version. No, I didn't. I made the patriotic color version for my dining room table over the summer. So I have a quilted version of this before I have ever finished the cross stitch version. So eventually this cross stitch version will get done. Super cute. All right, next up in the summer category is the Blue Flower Tudor Swan. And this is one that I did start this year. I had stitched her Tudor, is it called Tudor Roses? Tudor Flowers? Ooh, I can't remember the name of it, but she had another in this kind of Tudor series that I stitched a couple of years ago that I absolutely loved. And this had been waiting to be started for a couple of years. So I did go ahead and start it this year. I didn't make a ton of progress, but that's okay. I'm less concerned about smalls that sit around just because they feel so easy to finish. So you won't see me like UFOing a lot of smalls. Let me look at the details. Okay, here is my progress. And I'm stitching this on 40 count color and cotton fennel seed, and I'm using the called for flosses. And this is the same fabric I did the other Tudor flowers, maybe? I can't remember. I wish I could remember now. But yeah, it's gorgeous. 40 count, 1 strand, called for. Love it. Okay, and then last in the summer category is a Hello from Liz Matthews chart. I'll put it in here. This was from her Patreon, I believe back in June. And I started this with my friend Lauren, the New Hampshire stitcher, and was it Cross Stitch Kate? There were a couple other people who started it around that same time too, but Lauren definitely convinced me to start it. And I love it. That was not like a dig. I'm happy when people convince me to start things. This is such a small, I mean, it's not that small, but it's small. And I just didn't put enough work on it over the summer. So here is what mine looks like. I am stitching this on 36 count Fiber on a Whim Cypress with the called for DMC flosses. Super pretty. Definitely will come back to it this summer. I need to get it off of this giant piece of cypress so I can use the cypress for something else. Okay, that is all of the summer WIPs. And just based on how I stacked these, I didn't really like plan out how I was going to do the categories. I just started stacking things. The next category is just called Miscellaneous. These all definitely have a category. I just couldn't think of, I didn't want one project category. So this is like the potpourri. This is the Miscellaneous. So we're going to start with a 2021 start. God, these are all out of order. Whatever, it doesn't matter. The first one is by Mirabilia, and she's called Florentina. I started this in 2021. I really wanted to try to stitch a fancy lady, and I love her, and I did put in about 20 days of stitching in 2023 as part of my WIP Go board. That's a WIP Go goal I finished. And I almost have the bottom half of this chart complete. I was kind of, I started like in the center, the dead center, and then was focusing on getting the bottom half finished because then the top half will feel like nothing at all after all that bottom stitching. And here is what she looks like. So fun. I love this. I love stitching on this. It just takes a lot of work because there are so many flosses, and I'm stitching I would say not from a digital chart because these don't exist as digital charts, but I have if you've stitched a Mirabilia, you know how weird the charts are. So I have to take multiple pictures of the chart and then zoom in on them on my computer to be able to stitch properly. So it's like a little bit of setup. I can't just stitch on this anywhere. And the floss ring is like out of control with the amount of colors. So this one just takes more setup and prep work to stitch on, which is why it doesn't get stitched on a lot, but I really, really love stitching on it. So this will definitely get finished at some point. I'm stitching this on 32 count, Picture This Plus Chalice with the called for floss 2/2. If and when I ever start another Mirabilia, I will do it on 28 count hand-dyed linen. I really do not love the look of my stitches 2/2 on 32 count. They are bulky and messy to me. I just don't like it. So I definitely think the next time, like, and I thought about, when I was stitching this, starting this, I thought about doing it on 36 count so I could do 1 strand, but I didn't want the beads to be squished. It's my first Mirabilia, and I was like, let me just stick to the called for, do this as called for, so it comes out the way it's supposed to. But now having, you know, half of a Mirabilia stitched experience, I think I would definitely choose a 28 count Picture This Plus next time instead of 32. Just to like give my stitches a little bit of room to breathe because it is very dense. But it looks great. It does. It's just, it's a lot of white too, and I just feel like my white stitches aren't the neat and tidiest. But you know, whatever. It's fine. Once this is framed, nobody's going to be looking at my stitches. Except me. Whew. Next up is a weird one that y'all have only seen in WIP parades because I have not worked on this in forever, and I definitely think this one is getting the boot. This one did not get worked on in 2023. We'll see. I love the chart. It's just not one I ever pick up. And it is called Old West Dry Goods by, it says Tumbleweeds. I think it's like a Little House Needleworks subset, or I don't know. I think it's like part of Little House Needleworks, but that's what this one looks like. Well, okay, so one thing I'm going to talk about, I was trying to speed up and now I'm just getting slower. I think the reason that I don't work on this one is because I don't know what I'm going to do with the finished product. As much as I love the process of stitching, knitting, sewing, etc., I want to have a use for the finished object, whether that's just framed on the wall, folded up on my couch, you know, like wearing a sweater out to work or to dinner. Like, I want a finished product, and I don't know what I'm going to do with this. This does not fit the decor of my home. It's a Western themed piece. I live in Texas, but like, and I love this kind of stuff, but like, what am I going to do with this? It could definitely be gifted. It would definitely maybe fit like a kid's room if that was like the theme, but like, I don't know anyone having kids or doing a Texas themed nursery. That's like so specific. Anyways, I haven't worked on this in 2023 and I do not know if this will continue on. But here's what it looks like and here's what the progress I got done on it. This is 32 count Lakeside linen purled barley. I love this fabric. And I am doing 2/2 on this with all the called for flosses. That's also probably another reason it hasn't gotten worked on much, is because I don't love stitching 2/2. But yeah, super cute. I just haven't made much progress on it since I started it back in 2020. This is a 2020 WIP. Okay, another oldie. This is also from 2020. This is called After the Roses by Ink Circles. This was a market release in 2020 that I just fell in love with and had to have. I had never done an Ink Circles chart before. And I know the reason I haven't worked on this one in the last year. And it's because it's repetitive, but I still love it. Here's what it looks like. Here's the progress I have on it. I'm stitching mine on 40 count Lakeside linen maritime white called for flosses. And there are 4 quadrants that like spiral out from the center. And so you're stitching the same thing 4 times. And that is what slows me down on this one. I think the colors and the layout and everything are absolutely stunning. This is also another one where I'm not sure. Okay, sorry, somebody was just honking at our stop sign outside my window. This is another one where I don't know what I'm going to do with the finished product, other than I guess frame it. And it's definitely my colors, but it's just so different from other finishes that it has slowed me down from working on this. Even though I didn't work on it last year, I'm not putting it in the naughty pile. It's going to stay with my WIPs because I'm not giving up on this one yet. It's real pretty. Okay, another miscellaneous is Celebrate Love by Madame Chantilly. And this is my first start on one of these tiered trays by Madame Chantilly. I have, I think, a couple others that I haven't started, but this one I decided to make my life really difficult, and I decided I wanted to do this in like, not memory of my wedding, like as a wedding piece, like to, yeah, to remember my wedding. You know what I mean? So I was changing all the colors and doing a lot of stuff with this, and that makes it harder for me to work on it because I'm not convinced I picked the right colors. I was trying to change the colors to match my wedding flowers and wedding colors. And I've made a little bit of progress on it, and it's super cute. I'm not great at picking colors. Like, that's not my strong suit. So I don't know. So I haven't worked on this one in a year. I started this in the summer of 2022 after we got married, and that's as far as I got on it. I got the cat turned orange because we have a pair of little orange rascals, and I've changed some of the pinks and reds to different shades of pink and red that match my summery flowers from my wedding. But yeah, that's as far as I got on it. And this one's going to continue on. I will someday get this done, and I don't know if it's going to require changing some colors and things. We'll see. But yeah, okay, so let's see. What am I stitching this on? I'm using 36 count R&R reproduction, Barb's blend, and my own conversion, obviously, on the flosses. So that's that. Okay, next up is another digital chart called Meet Me at Midnight by Frizzy Lizzie Stitches. And Elizabeth created this in honor of Taylor Swift and the Midnights album and the Eras Tour, all the things Taylor Swift this past year. And while I am not what you would call like a Swiftie, I am a Swiftie. Does that make sense? Like I love the Midnights album. I really do. There's a lot of her albums though that don't do anything for me. And, you know, I was not one of the people trying to get tickets to the Eras Tour. I think it would have been super fun to go, but like, yeah. So anyways, why am I talking about this? Because I'm not stitching it for me. I'm stitching this for my cousin Ellen, who is a diehard Swiftie, and I know would appreciate this. I also love the way it looks and would definitely keep this for myself, but I did intend this to be a gift stitch. So here is where I'm at on midnight. Meet me at midnight. I am stitching this on a really cool fabric. It's 36 count fiber on a whim hydrangea. And I am using Elizabeth's called for flosses. Yeah, I just think it looks really, really cool. The thing that's slowing me down on this are the dominoes, to be honest. Those big white dominoes. I've got half of them done. I've got half of them to do. And yeah, this should really be honestly a pretty quick finish. And the goal last year, I think, was to finish it by Thanksgiving when I was going to see my cousin Ellen. That didn't happen. But yeah, her parents live in Austin where I live. She lives in North Carolina. So she comes home to visit them quite often. So I'll have multiple opportunities. I just need to figure out, you know, I need to add this back into my rotation and get this finished. Okay, next up, and I think this is the last one in the miscellaneous category, is my Summer House Stitchworks Fragments in Time series. I started this as a SAL with Lauren, the New Hampshire Stitcher. She created the hashtag, let me not show you the chart. She created the hashtag Back to School for big ass projects that we were going to start on September 1st. And so I chose this series to start as mine. And while getting ready for this WIP parade, I realized that I made a major mistake when starting this project. And now I have to decide if I'm going to restart or if I'm going to stitch these individually. Yay for me. So this is the one I actually started with. And the layout, I think I can get a picture from the internet, is like a 4x4, like 4/4 horizontal layout. And I knew that when I started it. I went and looked at the layout because I needed the border, right? The border isn't, yeah. There's like a whole border chart. But I don't know if I thought I was doing this on 40 count. Let's see, what am I doing it on? Oh, I am doing it on 40 count. Oh my God. Let me do some quick math real quick. Okay, I might be okay. I'm gonna have to do some more investigating later. I thought I was doing it on 36. Basically what happened was, here's what I've got done. I've just got a little bit of that first block done. So honestly, if I have to restart, it's not the end of the world. But you can see I left myself a generous 3-inch margin, which is my preferred margin, even though, you know, I don't usually need that much, but I like to give myself some space. And I was staring at it being like, did I leave myself enough room to get 4 blocks across? And I did the math thinking I had used 36 count fabric and thought I had given myself basically a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch margin over here. And I was like, Elizabeth, what did you do? Like, I should have started it going this direction and not this direction. But now that this is 40 count, I'm going to have to look at the chart and measure this out really carefully. I might have enough space. Maybe I didn't completely ruin this project. Okay. Well, that's exciting. This is 40 counts, Lakeside Linen Vintage Light Examplar, called for colors. Okay, cool. Let's move on. Obviously, this is one I want to come back to. I just got more charts for it when we were in Indiana at House of Stitches. Yeah. Maybe I didn't mess it up. Maybe not. Okay. Next, oh, that's the end of the miscellaneous category. So we're going to move on to fall, autumn, Halloween. We're going to start with a little bit of a mystery because I went through all my WIPs, organized, ironed, did all the stuff to prep for this, but I couldn't find one of my WIPs. I couldn't find Let Joy In by Friend Stitch, which is Heart and Hand and Hands on Design. Nope, Heart and Hand and Bent Creek. And I started this in 2021, fall 2021. I think it was the first Friend Stitch I attended. And it's a very pretty fall themed piece. And I started it, and I had it in a clear plastic Ziploc bag with all the stuff. I can see it in my mind, but I cannot find that WIP anywhere in this room. I'm sure it's in a bag somewhere. Like I must have taken it somewhere to something. So I'm sure it will turn up. But that's just one of the 43 that I'm like, what happened to that WIP? Okay, great. Let's move on. This is also a Friend Stitch chart. And Friend Stitch are exclusive. The charts are exclusive to Friendship, and they're not ever planning, I don't think, to release them. They haven't released any of the Friend Stitch charts over the years. So unfortunately, these charts you can't really get. This is from this year's Halloween pop-up, and it's called Gathering Crow. Wait. Oh no, it's called the Halloween Pop-Up Gathering. The chart is just called Crow. And it looks like that. And I got this started, I think, while I was attending Friend Stitch. And so I got about, I don't know, a third of it done. And I never finished it this fall. So this will carry over to my fall WIPs. This, I'm stitching on everything that came in the kit. So let's see, it is 28 count Zweigart flax and the called for colors. Next up is a newer start. Actually, I think the rest of these are ones I started. I went on like a really Halloween starting spree in October. So this one is Mill Hill Buttons and Beads, and it's called Haunted Hotel. Super cute. I'm absolutely obsessed with this one. Let me see if I can put something behind it so it doesn't get see-through. That's what the progress I have on it. It's full coverage, so it's a little bit slower going, but I love working on it. It has some glow-in-the-dark floss in it, which is really fun. Not fun to stitch with. It's fun to see in the dark. I'm stitching this on 28 count Zweigart black and all the called for kit included flosses. Next up is Meow a Ween by Stitches by Ethel. Looks like this. I got, what does Cam the Stitcher say? A sad start? I think that's Cam, right? There's my sad start. I worked on this, I think, one night and put in a pumpkin and a little bit of a black cat. I mean, it's very small, so hopefully this one will get finished next Halloween. Oh, and what am I stitching it on? I am stitching it on 36 count Pictureless Plus Sand that I just had a scrap of, and all of the called for DMC. And then the last Halloween start is Just Nan Halloween Party. I absolutely love this. Yeah, I got this in October at the Silver Needle. I think I actually got all three of those maybe at the Silver Needle. I bought a bunch of Halloween stuff. They had a really cool Halloween display at the Silver Needle, so they really got my money, which I was happy to give them. Let's see. Here is Halloween Party. That's where I got to. It is a lot of starting and stopping, a lot of color changes. So I worked on this a few nights, but that's the only progress I made. I am stitching this on 36 count Zweigart Lavender, and I'm using all the called for DMC. It's super cute, super fun. And I will get back to that one next Halloween. All right, that was all the fall and Halloween. We're down to my last category. Okay, good. I've picked up the pace. But this last category, is it the biggest? Is it bigger than Samplers? Let me see. Okay, no. The Sampler category had 14 WIPs. This is the Christmas category, and we have 13 WIPs. I really like stitching Christmas, but I started way too many things, and some of these I don't know if I'm ever going to finish because some of these are old. So, yeah, let's get into the Christmas. We're going to start with Merry Christmas by Blackbird Design. This is my oldest Christmas WIP. This was started in 2020. And I mean, I love it, but I have not stitched on it since literally the week I started it in 2020. I think it's the amount of green, if I'm honest. I think it's the amount of green that I don't like stitching with. I haven't gotten close to the colorful part. I'm like such a, is it a magpie who's like attracted to shiny things? I need colorful things. That's what I need. So this is what I did in 2020. that's where we got to. Let's see, what am I stitching it on? 40 count Lakeside linen vintage wild rose in the called for floss. And because I have not stitched on this in 3 years, it is going to go in the timeout pile for now. Next up is this also a 2020 start? Yes, it was. It is called Santa's Trips by Barbara Anna. This started as a mystery stitch along. I think by the time I bought it, all the parts were out. I can't remember. I think Emily C. maybe inspired me to start this one. I know she stitched it. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. And I did work on this year. I got 2, I believe, blocks done. It's a 9-part series. And here is what mine looks like. I have 6 of the 9 done after this year. I am stitching mine on 40 count Lakeside linen vintage maple sugar, and I converted the DMC to NPI silk. I had just discovered silk floss, I think, in 2020, and I really wanted to stitch some projects with it, and so I just took the called for DMC and made up my own NPI conversion that's pretty true to the DMC colors, I believe. So yeah, I really love this one. I will eventually have this finished. Next up is another 2020 Christmas start, and it is Winter Wonderland by Blackbird Designs. So pretty. This is an out of print chart, so it's not one you can get right now. Apologies for that, but I bought it not knowing that, I guess in 2020, I just found it. And I hadn't worked on it in a couple of years until this year. I pulled it back out for Christmas. I only worked on it a couple of days, but I made some more progress on it. And this is what mine looks like right now. So let's see. This is 36 count Lakeside linen Meadow rue and all of the called for flosses. Really pretty. And I've seen a few people stitching on this lately. Cross Stitch Kate is who made me pull mine back out. And I just saw that Stephanie of Just Keep Stitching, Stephanie, she just started it. So very fun. Okay, next up is another 2020 Christmas start that, even though it's a small, might get abandoned. Because I haven't worked on it since 2020. And that is Souvenirs from the Heart. Is it called Home for Christmas by Brenda Gervais. Home for Christmas. She stitched hers on, let's see, 28 count 1/1. I was not going to do that because I do not like stitching 1/1. So I just did mine on 40 count. Right, yeah, 40 count Vintage Light Examplar by Lakeside Linen. And that's my teeny tiny little start. And I just have not come back to this in 3 years. So it might be time to just give this up and use this beautiful piece of Vintage Light Examplar. I mean, like stitching gold Lakeside Vintage Light Examplar for something else, because clearly I'm not wanting to finish this one. So yeah, this is going to go over in the maybe not pile. Next is another digital chart? I think so. Yeah, I think I downloaded this online. This one is called Joyeux Noel by Barrick. And I did stitch on this a little bit this year because it was part of my WIP Go goals, but not enough. This is another one I really need to make a decision on. I mean, this is going to stay in the WIP pile for now because I did stitch on it this year, but yeah. And I love it. Like, here's what it looks like. It's great. This is 36 count Lakeside linen vintage Chantilly cream called for NPI flosses. Gorge. Okay, next up is another 2021, and this is called Christmas Morning by Hillis Designs. And it is this booklet, and the chart I'm specifically working on is this Christmas round box. So the top and then the band around the box. And I'm actually super annoyed with myself that I didn't get it out this Christmas, because I did a lot of work on this last Christmas to get it to this point, and it's pretty close to a finish. And I also want to stitch like this little rocking horse guy. I want to stitch some other stuff out of this book, and I really need to finish this big Mamba Jamba. Let me show it to you in parts. The first part is the big round top of the box, which I have completed. And it looks like that. So let's see, I'm stitching this on 32 count Vintage Country Mocha and all of the called for flosses. And I believe it was a 32 count vintage country mocha that was called for. I wanted to do it all called for so I could put the box together and not have any trouble. So that is the box top. And then I did most of the reindeer band, but I still have 2 reindeer left. Okay, I think it's all in frame. So you can see, I think I've got 6 reindeer there. So I have 2 more reindeer and another tree to stitch to finish off that band. So really, honestly, just a few nights, maybe 3 or 4 nights of stitching, and I could be done with this. So yeah, want to get back to this one eventually. Okay, also in 2021, this was my Christmas Day start in 2021, and this is also a sampler, so that's where I was talking about, like, if you felt like some of my samplers were missing, they might be in the Christmas category. And this one is called the Peace on Earth Sampler by Cottage Garden Samplings. I think it's so pretty. Sorry for the glare. And I did have this on my WIP Go goal this year, or WIP Go board this year, and I got a lot of work done on it. But it's kind of at a hard part right now where I've got to make some decisions. I've talked about that in a floss tube, so I'm not going to get into it here because this video is getting out of control long. But here is the progress on Peace on Earth sampler. And I'm doing this on 36 count Picture This Plus Wren with all of the called for flosses. I love that big basket in the center. Next up is Reindeer Games. This was a 2022 start. This is by Erica Michaels. And I love a crossword puzzle, love Scrabble, that kind of stuff. And I just really liked this chart. I'm doing the big framed piece. And here is what mine looks like so far. So I'm about halfway done with it. I just haven't worked on it much in the last year. So let's see, I'm stitching mine on 36 count Lakeside Linen Vintage Examplar, and I'm using all of the called for flosses, which I think are a mix of DMC and overdyed. And I love it. Okay, another Christmas one that I haven't worked on all year, and I don't know if I'm going to continue with, but now looking at it, looking at the chart, I'm like, maybe I do want to. That's the fun of WIP parades. It's just looking at everything and thinking about everything. So this is called Merry Christmas from Art to Heart, which I believe is just another Button Company's cross-stitch design name. And this is an older one, 2013. And I did not get very far on this last year. Here is what mine looks like so far. I'm stitching this on 36 count Zweigart Agave, and I'm using all of the called for flosses. And I was going to put this in the maybe pile, but I really do want the finished product. So it's just not fun to stitch in one color in big blocks. That's just my opinion. Okay, next up is one that needs a restart, but it's a WIP, so I put it in the pile. This is Lindy Stitch's Peppermint Candy. And this is another one I started last Christmas. This was a Jingle Ball exclusive last year, so now you can get this chart. And it's gorgeous. I think it's so cute. I want to stitch it, but not on this fabric that I chose. You can see she used, let's see, what did she call for? 32 count Chai by Seraphim. Is that what I'm using the called for fabric. I didn't even realize that. So she calls for 32 count Chai, and I had 36 count Chai in my stash, which is what I chose, but I don't love my colors on it. You really can't see any of the white, and like Santa's beard, the candle, the snowman. I mean, even in her model, you really can't see the white. So I definitely want to restart this on something darker and possibly pink, because I like stitching Christmas on pink. So this is my sad start. Just a little teeny tiny start on this big old fat quarter of 36 count Chai. And I just, right after I started it, knew I didn't like my fabric choice. So this will eventually be a restart. So let's put this in the problem pile because this fabric needs to go back into my stash. Okay, now we're on to the Music Room Stocking by Cooler Design Studio. I'll put it right here. I started this as part of a stocking sal. Is it stitch stocking sal? I can't remember. I'll put the hashtag on the screen that my friend Liz and I started in September maybe, because she really wanted to start a stocking for her dad. I wanted to do a stocking for my mom, and I chose the music room for mom. So this is my start. I have actually, I think, worked on this a little bit since my last floss tube, but not that much. So it probably doesn't look that different from when you last saw it. But yeah, that's the music room stocking. I am doing it on 25 count mushroom Lugana and all the called for DMC. And this is actually 3 strands over 2 Lugana threads, which is what the pattern calls for. And yeah, I do like the 3-strand coverage on the 25 count, specifically for the stocking, because it's so full coverage and almost like tapestry. Stitching with 3 strands obviously is not like my fave, but for some reason I like it better than stitching with 2. I can't tell you why. I don't know. But yeah, that's the stocking. Then we have The Light of Winter by Brenda Gervais. And this is a very recent start in November when it came out. Another, was just waiting for this to be released. I had seen it as a retreat piece. I believe it was a farm girl retreat. And the second it was released, I was like, give it to me. I want to start it right now. And so I started this at a cross stitch retreat in November with my mom, and that's all I worked on the whole weekend. And I've worked on it actually more in December since you've last seen this, but here is what The Light of Winter is looking like. I'm obsessed with the border. I think I mentioned on a few of my other pieces, sometimes I get bogged down in borders, but this one has enough going on and it's fun to stitch, and it's not too terribly repetitive, so I really enjoy that border. I am stitching this on 40 count Bestitch Me One More Reproduction, which I love. And I actually think I have some in my mailbox waiting on me because I ordered some more during her Black Friday sale. And I am using all of the called for flosses on this one. So gorgeous, and we'll definitely keep stitching on this. We're down to the last WIP. And it's one you haven't seen before. Well, okay, you saw it if you watched my Vlogmas. But if you haven't watched my Vlogmas, this is a new start. When did I start this one? On December 12th. So this is called Holiday Glow by Satsuma Street, and I bought this at Jingle Ball. I did not check to see if it was an exclusive to Jingle Ball or if it was just part of her general new releases, so I'm not actually sure if you can get this one. Maybe I'll figure it out and put it on the screen. But I bought it at Jingle Ball. I started it immediately. I love it. And here's what it looks like. This is 36 count Fox and Rabbit Waratah linen, and I used all the called for DMC and metallic flosses. And that is my progress. I really had fun stitching on this one this month, and I want to get back to it. I really enjoy Satsuma Street's bright, bold colors, especially for like ornaments and holiday pieces, and I now know I hate stitching with this DMC, Diamond, whatever nonsense, but it looks really cool. But God, I don't like stitching with it. Yeah. Ooh, okay, we made it to the end of the WIP pile. Yay. Before we close, I'm going to go through this naughty WIP pile and count how many there are and show them to you one more time. I'm not going to make any hard decisions here. I don't want to make jump decisions, but these are definitely going to be, I think for now, what I'm going to consider retired, which is that they're not in the active WIP pile. It's also to help save space because I have these 3 bookshelves behind me and I need all of these WIPs to fit on one shelf. Just for storage purposes, I do. So let me go through this pile real quick. Okay, I have 8 things in the evaluate pile. One of them, this one, we know it's going to be a restart, so no big deal. Let's put that one aside. Souvenirs of the Heart, this little ornament. Honestly, this is just going back in the stash. I'll use the fabric for something else. This will go back in the stash. If I ever actually want to stitch this, I can stitch it. So easy peasy, lemon squeezy. This Merry Christmas by Blackbird Designs. This is going to go in the retired pile because I don't want to make a decision yet. Tumbleweeds. What is this one called? Old West Dry Goods. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, that goes in the retired, but not gone forever pile. Sarah Barker, 1840. Ugh. I feel like this one I need to like, maybe I should do a D-stash, and if somebody wants to adopt this WIP, maybe that would be more productive. I'm going to put this in the retired pile for now. Oh, this is a hard one. Plum Street Samplers, the Equality Sampler, just because I do love the chart and the design so much, but I honestly don't know if I'm going to keep stitching on it. So into the retired pile. A Scarlet House Ann Topley, another that could be eligible for like a D-stash, because I feel like if anybody wants to finish it, I mean, I kind of want to finish it, but do I? Will I? I don't know. In the retired pile. And then Stitcher's Resolution. I think this one's going to get dekitted, and I'm going to reuse the fabric and floss for something else. So 3 are gone, 5 are maybes. I feel good about it. Okay, I think that's where I'm going to wrap up, because I've been filming for an hour and 20 minutes so far. And I like to keep these WIP parades, you know, tight and fast moving, because I think that, I don't know, it makes it fun to watch. So yeah, that is where I will leave you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. I can't wait to see what's in the 2024 WIP parade. So I'll see you in my next video. Bye.